All right, good day, everyone. Today we will be continuing our coronavirus distance learning and looking more into the Scopes monkey trial of 1925. So this will be day two of it. Today's date is Wednesday, April 29th, 2020, and we're continuing the battle over teaching evolution. Our objective is the same as yesterday. I will learn about the evolution of education in schools by analyzing primary source documents from the scope trial. Yesterday, you looked at two documents from it. Today, you're going to look at another two documents. All right, so what I have here, if you choose to watch it either in the attached Google Classroom video or on the PowerPoint itself, is the same video I showed you last year of the human face evolving over millions of years. So if you want to watch it just for a refresher or to get a better idea of it, feel free to do so. Again, it's attached in the PowerPoint presentation itself, as well as attached as a separate video link in it. So let's get into it, and we're going to look at the national media's reaction. Now, the national media applauded Darrell's speech because, for the most part, they supported Darrell in evolution in school. By national media, we're talking about the United States newspapers, mainly from northern cities who are more progressive. New York, Boston. This newspaper here is from Detroit, Seattle, Washington. They were much more progressive up north than they were down south. So it says experts hold something after that, but it says Tennessee evolution trial set for Friday, July 10th. There's also a picture of a woman that says she is the victim of a New Jersey axe murderer. Not sure really what that's about, but I'm sure that's a pretty interesting story in itself. However, the local reaction is quite different than national reaction. So these are newspapers in Dayton, Tennessee, or around that area in the South. Tennessee newspapers had a different reaction. The Memphis Commercial Appeal printed a cartoon as Darrell as the Antichrist. So if you look at the image, you have Darrell sitting on top of a rock that says Antichrist. You have what looks like demons and monsters around him that says spiritual despair on the rock. Around the skulls, it says annihilation. And the crocodile dinosaur looking thing says agnosticism. Agnostic means you believe in a God, but not any religion itself. So you could believe in God, but you might not be Christian or Jewish or anything like that. The title of this is Darrow's Paradise. So they're basically saying that Darrow would rather be, he's like the devil. Like what would be horrible for everyone else is awesome for him. So him wanting to teach evolution or him wanting evolution in schools will be great for him, but horrible for everyone else around. This gentleman here, H.L. McKinnon, he was a Baltimore journalist on Baltimore, Maryland. He was very critical of Bryan and the creationist. He brought description of the trial to the national audience and portrayed Southerners as illiterate and ignorant. The way he made the South seem is backwards. Like when you think of like an average hillbilly or people who can't do anything. They're like, what do they know in schools? They can't even read, and like they still think that slavery should be legal down there, even though it's been outlawed for 60 years. These are people who like are backwards and don't hold American ideals. So by painting the South as more or less idiots, they are making it seem like they cannot be right in their opinion or anything that they want to do. So Darrow's goal, he knew that Scopes would be convicted, that he'd be found guilty of teaching evolution in school because he was teaching evolution in school, which was in itself against the law. What he wanted to do was basically use this trial as a national science lesson on evolution. He hoped to turn public opinion against the creationists, and journalists were on his side. He hoped that with the national news coverage, although they might lose the battle, in the long run they will win the war. That they would have so much countries and other states looking at them saying, wait, you don't want to teach evolution in schools? It's science. It's basically, we have evidence on it, and you're refusing to teach it. You must be backwards. You must be ignorant and illiterate, like the journalist in Baltimore says. And that's basically what happened. They might lose this battle, but in the long run, they would win the war. So here are just some political cartoons of what is from the time period. So this one is an old man. It says Dayton, Tennessee on his bag. The music box says the Scopes case, and the monkey catching money. It says publicity. Now, if you read into this, you have your own opinion on this, and obviously we're going to discuss some of these during the live lesson. But my opinion on this is how Dayton is publicizing this case. They are making it seem like it is this world center case with these huge, amazing lawyers and orators going against it's going to change the world. And they're using basically a monkey as him dancing and putting on a show to collect money, which Dayton, Tennessee was getting a lot of money with all these people coming there, staying in hotels, writing about it, sending funds and stuff to support whatever side they wanted to win. Okay, so this one says, when shall we meet again? You have Brian and Dayton shaking hands with a monkey in the middle. And I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. It's basically saying, um, like, this was all about around a monkey. This was all around a two titans. You can see this stood on top of the world and a monkey, or gorilla. They're all shaking hands saying that we're going to meet again, as in the outcome doesn't really matter to them. They're just doing what their ideals are, but for them, it's just, business as usual. So this one is from The Verdict, and you can see how the old gentleman that says WJB Realtor says, "Thou shalt not think," and he's saying to the young student there who's carrying his or her books, going to school. Thinking is one of the things that a lot of established societies don't want. If you think, then you may be able to question what's going on. And if you could question what's going on, it makes it harder for them to control you. Think of Socrates when we did ancient Greece last year. Socrates was executed, put to death for corrupting the youth because he told the children to ask why. If someone tells you to do something, ask why. It doesn't mean not to do it. It means know the reason. Be true to respect. Don't do stuff blindly. So by them saying thou shalt not think, they're saying don't think about anything, don't ask any questions, follow what it says in the Bible, follow what it says in laws, follow what it says here, and from there you could everyone will be happy. Might be true, may not be not, depends on the situation. Okay, so this is an example of that slippery slope argument that I was referring to yesterday, and this is the dissent. So you start off with Christianity on top. Now, if you say the Bible is not infallible, as in they were saying that the Bible is straight fact, every word in there is true, even though it does say slavery is legal in the Bible, and it does say that a woman should be stoned to death, as in thrown rocks at until she was dead, or dating another guy wanting a divorce. So I'm not touching that one right now. But it says, okay, next step down, man not made in God's image. This is where Daryl is, as Daryl standing at that step right there, or I'm sorry, John Scopes. And once you get that, you have, well, if he's not made in God's image, there might not be any miracles. Maybe Jesus didn't turn water into wine, or maybe there was no resurrection. Now, if you get rid of miracles, you can't have a virgin birth. Mary couldn't have had Jesus from the child of God, which means Jesus wouldn't be the child of God. Jesus is a child of God. There might be no deity, no God himself, or no Christian God, no atonement, no forgiveness for our sins. If you could, everyone sins according to them. Even you get baptized to erase the original sin. If there's no atonement, a lot of people will be going not to heaven. So if there's no atonement, there's no resurrection. Your soul doesn't go up into the afterlife. There is no afterlife, which goes to being agnostic, saying, yeah, I believe something's out there. It might be God. It might be a flying spaghetti monster. It may be Yoda. Who knows? Which then goes to atheism. You believe in nothing. You don't believe that there is a God. So this one says, entitled Let There Be Darkness, and it is a hand that says Tennessee on it, putting out the candle of knowledge. That's how they used to put out candles back in the day, because you didn't want to blow wax everywhere or risk a fire, because a lot of stuff was made out of wood. So you put this cap over it, and this cap will just suffocate the candle within a few seconds, and you won't have a lot of smoke. You won't have, wax blowing everywhere or the wick getting smaller. So Brian on the stand. The judge decided not to let any experts on evolution testify, so Daryl calls Brian to stand as an expert on the Bible. This is a guy who is arguing for the Bible, and he's now being called on stand as an expert on the Bible. So here is an image of that moment. Daryl is the guy that is standing to the right center. Brian is sitting in the chair in the white shirt looking at him. He is on the stand. This took place outside, and he's being asked questions on the Bible to see what is fact and what is not. So, Brian's testimony. At first, he said that everything in the Bible should be taken literally. Anything that is written in the Bible. Now, if we look at Hammurabi's code that we did last year as well, an eye for an eye sounds kind of fair. Basically, what's in the Bible. But then the other one of if a guy gets caught stealing from your house or burning your house down, that guy should be thrown into the house and burned to death. But the guy was not guilty, then the owner of the house should be thrown in. There was a lot of laws on that today we would see no, that's not how it should be. However, after Daryl's relentless questioning, he finally considered that the Bible should not always be taken literally. There's your slippery slope argument. By saying that it should not always be taken literally, you can then say, okay, well, if you're not going to take this literally, why are you going to take the creation of man literally? The reported in the press as a defeat for Brian, even though John Scopes was convicted of breaking the law. Brian was defeated. They said, as a man and as a legend, Brian was destroyed by his testimony that day. And then 6 days later, Brian winds up dying. So this was his last case. This was his last thing he did. William Jennings Bryan had an illustrious career. Like I said, he ran for president a few times. Lost out, but he was very famous, especially in the very late 1800s. So this was the last thing he did before he died. Aftermath. The trial changed the way many people thought about evolution, which eventually changed the laws. Before the trial, 15 states had proposed anti-evolution laws. So out of the, I think it was 48 states at this time, maybe 36. I don't know, between 36 and 48 states. Should probably know that. I am a history teacher. Anyway, 15 states had laws that were going to be passed saying you should not be able to teach evolution in school. After the case, only 2 states actually end up passing those laws. If it wasn't for his case, most likely all 15 would have had those laws on the books. And anti-evolution laws were finally overturned nationwide in 1968 in Epperson versus Arkansas. Now, my father started going to school in 1958, in kindergarten. So he would have actually gone 10 years, into high school when they would finally overturn these laws. My father did go to Catholic school for a long time, so it was a lot different than like the public schools that you're used to. However, he's from the north. He's from New Jersey, so they were a lot more progressive, and evolution was taught in schools, even though it was a Catholic church. These also did teach the Bible there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So for classwork today, you're going to receive two more documents from the Scopes Monkey Trial, a Reverend Stratton article, and a New York Times article. They're about the same length as yesterday's. You're going to read each document and answer the question on the other document that is attached. You must ace the question. Please, please, please make sure you ace the question. You answer the question and you cite evidence. Each response should be no less than 2 to 3 complete sentences. That's not one sentence. That's not, a couple words. That is 2 to 3 complete sentences. Please provide evidence. If you write one sentence, give me one sentence of evidence to prove your point. There's your 2 sentences right there. It could be straight from the readings. Just make sure you cite it. At 2:30 today, I will be holding a discussion board. This discussion board will be for extra credit. It will be posted around 2:15ish. And from 2:30 to 3, we will have a live discussion. Yesterday, I had 6 people show up. If 6 people show up again, that's fine. I still keep doing this. I still do this every day. The offer is out there to help you. You have to just take that initiative to join the invite. Discussion boards are due, if you choose to do it, no later than 11:59 tonight. This will have the possibility of earning 10 points towards the grade that you're going to have for this whole assignment. How this is working is yesterday's assignment is worth 6 points. If you got them all right or you did them all, you got the 6 points there. There was a 1 point extra credit thing for the discussion board yesterday. It is over and done with. You can no longer do it. So you had a chance of getting 116 altogether on that. Today's assignment is worth 4 points. And discussion board will be worth another 1 point, bring it up to 5 points. You have the opportunity to get 125 on this thing today. Both these things added together, you got the 2 grades added together, brings it to 10 points. 6 points from yesterday, the 4 points from today brings it to 10 points. That's going to count as a quiz grade. The 2 days of extra credit will count as 2 extra points, bringing it up to 12 points. So it'll be 2 points out of 10 or 20 points out of 100. Since quizzes are out of 100 points, you have the opportunity of getting 20 points extra, 10 points extra just by doing this today. So please make sure you do it. Again, it's your choice. Feel free to message me during my office hours of 8 to 10 and 2 to 4. I'll be there to answer any questions. Anything outside those hours, I will get back to you as soon as I can. Dojo me, or message me on Google Hangout, or just make a comment on your Google Classroom, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Everyone have a great day, and I will talk to you all later.